So hello, my name is Dan Walsh. I'm from Stafford, England, and I'm here in the wonderful Deering Banjo's factory in San Diego. I started the banjo when I was 13, which was a pretty unusual choice for a teenager in the middle of England. I was already playing guitar, that was always the dream, but then I got into hearing the banjo in a lot of Scottish and Irish music, kind of jigs and reels, and just said to my parents one day, I quite fancy trying the banjo. And they were really thrilled about that, and found me a fantastic teacher in a nearby town called Cannock, called George Davis, who I owe the world to, really. But he taught this claw hammer style, which is what I do. Not that I had any idea what that meant, and in fact, about a year into playing, I learned that all the Irish and Scottish stuff that I've been listening to was played on a tenor banjo, which is a 4-string banjo, unlike this one, and is in a different tuning and played with a plectrum, and is essentially a completely different instrument. So I basically took up the wrong instrument, but in the end it turned out to be a kind of happy accident. And I really got into playing Scottish and Irish music in clawhammer style, very influenced by people like Ken Perlman in that regard. And in fact, I'll do a little bit of that. I ended up going to university when I was 18, and I studied folk and traditional music, and I used to play a lot of tune sessions with about 18 Scottish fiddlers and 10 Irish flautists and various other things, and they used to rattle through all these jigs and reels, and it was great fun. And I'll play you a little example of that. So. So yeah, things like that, and we used to play a lot of those tunes, and I learned how to play drunk, which was also fun, but I don't do that live for the good of the audience. But yeah, so Scottish and Irish music was my original love, but I'd never heard of bluegrass or old time when I took up the banjo, amazingly. I'd never ever heard of it. And when I started learning, I was learning a lot of old-time tunes, and that's how I sort of got introduced to that. And like many people, the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack was a bit of a gateway for me into bluegrass as well. But again, I sort of learned that most bluegrass players play with finger picks and do the 3-finger style. But I guess I kind of tried to work on a way of playing bluegrass, but still in clawhammer. So I don't know, a very brief kind of idea. So I got kind of quite into doing that sort of stuff, and then basically just tried to soak up every musical influence I could. With my complete lack of knowledge of what the banjo was supposed to do, I just kind of didn't see any reason not to try anything. So I played a little bit of Eastern European stuff. Played quite a lot of kind of funk sort of stuff. But all based in this sort of clawhammer style. And then more recently I've done some of my Indian music, which I really get a massive kick out of, and I'll play some of that a little bit later on. But basically, clawhammer is the root of everything I do. I don't really know how to Scruggs pick. I occasionally do some very bad fake Scruggs picking, but clawhammer is definitely what I do. And quite unusually, I do it on a resonator banjo, which again wasn't really a deliberate decision. I had an open back when I first started, but it was very much a sort of more of a beginner's instrument, and I'd been told about the wonderful Deering Banjos when I was looking for a new banjo, and I was about 18, 19 at this point, and I went to a shop called Hobgoblin in England, and they stock a lot of Deering Banjos, and I just tried a bunch of them and really enjoyed my Deering Sierra, which this is also a Sierra, but this is a different Deering Sierra. This is made of walnut, but the first one I got was made of mahogany, I think. I tried a whole bunch of Deering banjos when I was choosing a new one, and if truth be known, I certainly was pretty rubbish at like knowledge of instruments and things like that. The playing bit I did a lot of, the choosing instruments thing I wasn't so good at. So a very good friend of mine at university, Matt Price, he is brilliant at that. So he came with me to help me choose my banjo, and I played a whole bunch of them. But really fell in love with the Sierra. I really liked the. Particularly that first one, the one that was mahogany, had quite a warm kind of tone, which I really liked for the Scottish and Irish jigs and reels, which was what I was playing more of really at the time. And also, to be honest, volume was also a consideration, because I was playing in tune sessions with a lot of other players. So to have a banjo that kind of cut through a bit more, because you always want to hear the banjo more than anything else. That was a real. That was a real sort of good point about the Sierra. And then this one, which I got more recently, is, like I say, made of walnut and has a really bright sound. And I suppose I've been playing more of the Americana end of things. And amazingly, it also works really well for indie music as well, because it kind of has that same real kind of bright twang, for want of a better word. That was my kind of introduction to Deering banjos, and then I ended up with a lot of people saying, "You play clawhammer on a resonator?" and I learned that wasn't normal, but never mind, it seems to work for me. But so that's kind of my story, and these days I tour and spread the banjo word as far as I can.